Imagine having the power to undo the worst day in human history. Whether it's a catastrophic war, a deadly natural disaster, or a moment of immense human suffering. What if you could simply erase that day and prevent the tragedy from ever happening? The concept might sound appealing, but would it actually make the world a better place? This idea brings us face to face with some profound questions about the consequences of tampering with history. In this video, we'll dive deep into the possible outcomes of erasing one of history's darkest moments. Would removing such a tragedy improve the world, or could it create unforeseen consequences that we might never anticipate? Let's explore the potential impacts of undoing a tragedy that's etched into the past, and how it could change the world in ways we can't yet foresee. When we consider the idea of erasing a major tragedy, we have to take into account the ripple effect it would cause on the course of history. Events like the World Wars, the Holocaust, or the September 11 attacks didn't just result in immediate suffering. They also altered the political, social, and cultural landscape in profound ways. They caused shifts that influenced the world for generations. While we may think of a world without these immediate horrors as better, the reality is that undoing such a tragedy could disrupt the delicate balance of history itself. Political structures, alliances, and even the trajectory of future conflicts could shift, possibly leading to new and unforeseen challenges. The psychological impact on society is another critical factor to consider. Major tragedies often leave deep emotional scars on entire nations, shaping their collective consciousness and identity. These dark moments teach us resilience, empathy, and the importance of coming together in the face of adversity. If we were to erase the worst day in history, we might rid the world of the pain and trauma associated with it. But we would also lose the lessons learned from those experiences. Human suffering, as painful as it is, often acts as a catalyst for societal change. The tragedies of the past have forced us to examine our values and rebuild what was broken. Erasing them might prevent the immediate suffering, but it could also rob humanity of the hard-earned wisdom that has come from enduring hardship. Another potential consequence of erasing the worst day in history is the possibility of creating even greater tragedies down the line. Sometimes, progress is born from the need to rebuild after a crisis. For example, after the World Wars, global institutions like the United Nations were established in an effort to prevent future conflicts. These systems arose because of the very tragedies they aimed to address. If we remove the wars that led to the creation of these institutions, we may find ourselves living in a world without the mechanisms that help maintain global peace and order. In trying to make the world a better place by erasing one tragedy, we may inadvertently undo the progress that followed, leaving humanity unprepared for future crises or conflicts. The complex web of solutions, innovations, and new systems that arose as a result of suffering might be lost, and without them, we may face even worse circumstances in the future. Cultural identity and memory are also inextricably linked to historical tragedies. Communities that have endured war, genocide, or disaster often use these dark moments to forge a collective identity. They create rituals, stories, and memorials to honor those who were lost, to preserve their cultural heritage, and to ensure that future generations never forget. If we were to erase the worst day in history, we risk losing these powerful cultural markers. The shared experiences of hardship help bring communities together, offering them strength and unity in the face of adversity. Without the memory of these tragic events, we could weaken the very fabric of these societies, removing a crucial part of their history and shared experience. The loss of cultural identity could lead to a disconnection from the past, making it harder for future generations to appreciate the struggles that shaped the present. There's also the risk of historical amnesia. If we erase the painful chapters of history, we might forget the lessons they offer. History provides a context for understanding the present and offers valuable insight into the patterns of human behavior. Without the memory of past mistakes, there's a danger that we could repeat them. This is especially true in the case of atrocities like war, genocide, and environmental destruction. The very act of erasing suffering could remove the opportunity to reflect on how far humanity has come in preventing such tragedies, and it could weaken our resolve to continue making progress. History helps us understand the impact of our actions and provides a map for navigating the future. Without it, we might struggle to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past, leading to even greater suffering in the future. Human growth, resilience, and empathy are often catalyzed by adversity. Tragedies force us to reconsider our values and to rebuild what has been broken. If we erase a significant tragedy from history, we might rob future generations of the opportunity to grow in response to hardship. The emotional scars left by such events often serve as a reminder of what's truly important in life: peace, justice, and human connection. By preventing such hardships, we could risk stunting the growth of future generations, depriving them of the chance to develop the strength and resilience needed to face life's challenges. While it may be tempting to protect others from pain, the reality is that suffering often shapes the most profound aspects of human growth. Without these experiences, we might lose some of the depth and empathy that make us human. Tragedy often acts as a catalyst for progress and innovation. Many of the technological advancements and social changes we take for granted today arose from the necessity of rebuilding after catastrophic events. For instance, wars and natural disasters have driven the development of medical treatments, technological tools, and humanitarian systems designed to prevent further loss of life. If we erase the worst day in human history, we might also erase the drive to innovate. The urgency created by tragedy pushes humanity to adapt and evolve, to rethink how we can prevent future suffering, and to strive for a better future. Without this catalyst for progress, we could miss the opportunity to make significant advancements that improve our lives. Sometimes, suffering is the driving force behind innovation, and without it, we might lack the motivation to pursue meaningful change. There are also significant ethical questions surrounding the idea of erasing history. Who has the right to decide which events should be removed from our collective memory? While the intention may be to avoid suffering, the act of erasing can be seen as a form of censorship or historical revisionism. This raises important ethical dilemmas. Can we truly justify altering history to avoid pain? Or do we risk crossing a line by deciding which events are worthy of being erased? History, both good and bad, shapes who we are. Altering it could lead to a world where the past is no longer a reliable teacher, and the lessons we've learned are lost. The power to erase history is not something to be taken lightly, and the consequences of such an action could be far-reaching. The collective empathy and connection that arise from shared experiences of loss, grief, and recovery are essential parts of what binds us as human beings. The power of historical tragedies lies in their ability to unite people from all walks of life, fostering solidarity and compassion. If we were to erase the darkest moments of history, we might lose that sense of collective empathy. Shared remembrance of past suffering often brings people together across national, cultural, and generational lines. Without those common experiences, it might become harder for future generations to unite and support one another in times of crisis. The bonds, formed through shared pain, are a vital part of the human experience, and erasing these events could weaken the social fabric that holds us together. The idea of undoing the worst day in human history raises profound questions about how we view suffering, progress, and the value of our past. While erasing a tragedy might seem like a way to improve the world, the consequences could be far more complex than we anticipate. Whether through unforeseen tragedies, the loss of cultural memory, or the removal of the drive for innovation, tampering with history might lead to outcomes we never expected. Ultimately, history, both the good and the bad, shapes who we are as individuals and as a society. What do you think? Should we erase history's darkest moments, or is the pain of the past essential to our future growth? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more thought-provoking discussions.